Have you ever replayed a conversation in your head for hours, maybe even days, wondering if you sounded awkward, said too much, said too little, or accidentally changed the way someone sees you? Most people move on from conversations quickly, but overthinkers don't. Their brain keeps reopening the interaction like an unfinished tab that refuses to close. And psychology says there's a reason for that. Because people who overthink conversations are usually not trying to create problems in their head. Most of the time, they're trying to avoid emotional pain, misunderstanding, rejection, or regret before it happens. And once you understand what's actually happening psychologically, their behavior starts making a lot more sense. The first thing most people misunderstand about overthinkers is this. Their mind rarely treats conversations as just conversations. A simple text message, a short reply, a small tone change, a delayed response. Their brain immediately starts searching for meaning underneath it. Did they sound annoyed? Did I say something wrong? Why did their energy feel different? Should I have worded that differently? And the strange part is, they usually know they're overanalyzing, but awareness doesn't automatically stop the process. Because psychologically, overthinking is often connected to hyper-awareness. Their brain constantly scans for emotional patterns, social shifts, and possible negative outcomes before they fully happen. In psychology, this is sometimes connected to something called threat anticipation. The brain starts trying to predict emotional discomfort in advance so the person can avoid future pain, embarrassment, conflict, or rejection. So while other people forget the interaction after 5 minutes, the overthinker's brain is still reviewing every detail hours later. The second reason people overthink conversations is emotional self-consciousness. Some people become extremely aware of how they are perceived by others, not because they're self-obsessed, but because their brain places a high emotional value on social interactions. They care deeply about being understood correctly. And when someone values connection deeply, even small misunderstandings can feel emotionally significant. That's why overthinkers often replay conversations trying to figure out, how did I come across? Did they misunderstand me? Did I sound weird? Did I make things awkward? Sometimes they're not even looking for reassurance, they're looking for clarity. Because uncertainty is uncomfortable for an analytical mind. And honestly, this is where a lot of people get exhausted without realizing it. Their body may leave the conversation, but mentally, the conversation never fully ends. The third reason is something a lot of overthinkers rarely talk about: past emotional experiences. Many people who overanalyze conversations were once judged harshly, misunderstood, ignored, embarrassed, emotionally invalidated, or rejected for expressing themselves honestly. So over time, their brain learned something important. Be careful with what you say. Now, every interaction gets mentally reviewed for mistakes before the brain allows itself to relax. Psychologists often describe this as a protective response. The brain is trying to prevent the person from experiencing that same emotional pain again. And the difficult part is, the overthinker usually appears calm externally, while their mind is running dozens of emotional simulations internally. The fourth reason people overthink conversations is because they notice details other people miss. Tiny pauses, facial expressions, energy shifts, changes in texting style, different word choices, longer response times. Their brain constantly collects subtle social information automatically. And while that high awareness can make someone emotionally intelligent, it can also become mentally exhausting. Because when your brain notices everything, it also has more material to analyze later. That's why one slightly awkward interaction can replay in someone's head all night, while the other person has already forgotten it happened. And interestingly, overthinkers are often harder on themselves than anyone else ever would be. A small mistake that others barely noticed can feel enormous internally, because their brain keeps magnifying the interaction, trying to solve it emotionally. The fifth reason is the fear of regret. A lot of overthinkers believe one wrong sentence can permanently damage a relationship, opportunity, or impression. So their brain keeps revisiting conversations, trying to make sure nothing went wrong. They mentally rewrite responses, imagine better versions of the interaction, think about what they should have said instead. Not because they enjoy overthinking, but because the brain believes preparation creates safety. And sometimes overthinking conversations is really the brain's attempt to gain control over unpredictable social outcomes. But here's the irony. The people who overthink conversations the most are usually the people who care the most about others. They care about wording, feelings, respect, connection, emotional impact. That's why they analyze things so deeply in the first place. And while overthinking can absolutely become unhealthy, it often comes from emotional sensitivity, self-awareness, and the desire to avoid hurting people or being hurt themselves. But psychology also reminds us of something important. Not every pause means rejection. Not every short reply means someone is upset. Not every awkward moment becomes a permanent memory for other people. Most people are too busy thinking about themselves to analyze you as deeply as you analyze yourself. And learning that can be strangely freeing, because eventually healing starts when the brain slowly realizes this. Connection becomes impossible when every interaction feels like a test you must pass perfectly. Sometimes people will misunderstand you. Sometimes conversations will feel awkward. Sometimes you'll replay things unnecessarily. That's part of being human. And honestly, some of the most thoughtful, emotionally intelligent, and self-aware people in the world are also the people who overthink conversations the most. Not because they're weak, but because their mind never fully stops trying to understand people, emotions, and possible outcomes. And maybe the goal isn't to stop caring completely. Maybe the goal is simply learning that you don't have to mentally relive every conversation to deserve connection. If you enjoy understanding the deeper psychology behind human behavior, subscribe for more videos like this.